Thank you for that. Hello, world. What is up? Welcome to Build. I'm your host, Matt Forte. We are here live at the Build studio in New York City. Our next guest is an absolute legend. His last show ran for 27 seasons. That's 3,891 episodes, if you're keeping track. But starting today, okay, he returns to his roots. You see, long before audiences were chanting his name, he got his start as a lawyer. And now, after nearly 3 decades of chair-tossing goodness, he's trading his microphone for a gavel. He's got a new show where not only are his thoughts are final, but so are the verdicts. The man himself, the Honorable Judge Jerry, that's right, the great Jerry Springer is here, folks. How about it? You excited? Because I'm excited. Let me ask this crowd right here, right now. Are you guys excited? Let me hear it. Because they are. I've confirmed that. So you better be wooing at home as well, because this is Jerry Springer. We're going to get him out here in just a moment, but first, I believe we have a quick peek at the show. So let's go ahead. Let's run that clip.
My mom is a compulsive liar who totaled my car, I feel like, on purpose. This is my car, Your Honor. This is what it looked like after I let her use it.
Wow, the wheels are on top.
Yeah. I get a phone call from my mother, Your Honor, at like 5 in the morning, asking me, could she take a male friend home who is a diabetic, who ate too many cookies the night before and got sick. So my thing to her, I said, call 911.
I don't need all the attention at my house, and I'm not trying to have him die in my house. I'm trying to get him out of my house.
Yeah.
I don't need no dead bodies in my house.
It's a good philosophy to have. You never want a dead body in your house.
Right.
2 things. 1, with your male friend with the diabetes, next time that happens,
Call him an Uber. I don't even talk to him.
Ladies and gentlemen, Jerry Springer right here, the Honorable Jerry Springer. Congratulations, sir, on this fantastic show. I was just saying in the back, it's so exciting to see you with the robe up there in this different setting after so many years. It's very exciting. How are you?
I am doing fine, and this is really the first time in my life, and I'm 75, that you will see the words Jerry Springer and Honorable in the same sentence. That has never happened. So
Cause for celebration.
I'm very happy about
You've
it.
had many jobs over the years. You were a lawyer, you were in politics, you were mayor, you were a hell of a host, but never a judge. This is the first time as a judge.
Yeah, I started out as a lawyer, and I've been everything you can't respect. I mean, I've been a lawyer, a journalist, a talk show host. Once I sell used cars, it's the full cycle.
I was going to say, that's the only thing missing.
But this is, I honestly thought I was getting ready to retire, and because I'd done the show for 27 years. And then literally 2 months before the end of the show, NBC came in and said, you're a lawyer, would you do a judge show? And it's exciting because it's the first grown-up job I've had in the last 30 years, so yeah, I'm happy to do it.
It has to be exciting, right? Because when you look at those numbers, nearly 4,000 episodes on the air, 27 seasons, it's got to be something really exciting for you to not take a break. Because I was doing the math. The show, last show finished around spring 2018, end of 2018, and now we have this new show. Have you even gotten a full year to take off? Did you take any time?
No, because we started taping these episodes before.
You just overlap.
Yeah, but it's, you're always doing something when you're awake. So, why not call it a job? It isn't, I'm not that good of a golfer, so retirement was not something that, plus my wife wants me out of the house. So, yeah. No, honestly, it scared me, the idea of not doing anything. If you've been doing something your whole life, and then suddenly you get up in the morning, you don't have a place to go, it's not something I would deal with well. So having the opportunity to do this, So were you,
when they came in and they were like, hey, we got another show, were you in a way relieved? Were you like, oh, that's great news?
No, I was literally in the office getting ready for the regular show, the crazy show. And and they just came in and said, we got this idea. They shut the door and they said, what do you think? So I took 12, maybe 14 seconds and said, yeah.
You really thought about it.
Oh, yeah.
Like the pros and cons.
And I said, sure, I'd love to do this. But, I haven't practiced law in almost 40 years. So, all the law books I have, it's about horse and buggy crashes and stuff like that.
You read it by candlelight.
Yeah, they're not applicable to anything that's going on today. So I really have to, and we tape on alternative weeks. So I'll do 30 to 35 cases a week, and then the week that I'm off, I have to study the cases, the new cases that'll be coming up. So, and because they're from all 50 states, you have to know the law in that particular state where the parties are from. Normally, if you're a judge, you're just working in one state, in one county, whatever. But here, you have to know what's going on in each of the 50 states, and that takes a little bit of time. But
That's fascinating. And that's in stark contrast to how, as you called it, the crazy show, that what you liked to not know. You liked going in kind of clean and not having as little information as possible.
I wasn't
going into
allowed
that.
to know.
You weren't allowed to even know.
No, when I call it the regular show. There was nothing regular about that show. It was stupid. But when I did, the Jerry Springer show, I hold a card, which you always see me walking around in the audience. But all the card has on it are the names of the guests, because I haven't met them. And then my job is to ask questions that you would ask sitting at home watching and then make jokes. But I'm never allowed to know the subject matter. And so that, makes it more authentic. So I'm not faking a reaction. So I really don't know what's going to happen. And that was good. So it kept you alert. But there was no preparation, no.
Did you get to a point after so many episodes where even though they didn't tell you, you could see someone and know the whole story before they even said it?
I knew it was going to be stupid or crazy. And, but, I knew it'd be something nuts. But I didn't, I couldn't tell exactly what the story is, no. But I could tell when it looked like things would get physical. Yeah. And you could always see me walking towards the audience at that moment.
A little bit of distance.
Oh, yeah, because I wear rented suits. I can't afford to get in the middle of these fights and everything. So, no, I stayed away from all of that. And
historically, you always had amazing security on that show out of necessity. Yeah. Did you ever feel, was there ever a time where you felt like it got a little too crazy or you felt unsafe? No fault of the security team or whatever, just people got super heated and you thought, let me get even farther away? No,
well, first of all, anyone who's on the show has seen the show 1,000 times before, because, they have to call, you couldn't call someone up and ask them to be on our show. They'd hang up on you. So the only people that come on our show, there are people that called us. And the only way you would know, we're not in the phone book, so the only way you'd know our number is by watching the show and seeing on the screen what the number is. So therefore, everyone who comes on the show knows what the drill is. Okay, so when they come on and then they just get carried away with what's going on and they go crazy, but they're not going to come on the show if they didn't like me. Right. You know what I mean? If they really, and there are people that don't, they're not going to bother to come on the show. So going in, they don't want to hurt me. Yeah. Plus, who wants to hit an old man?
You play that card off.
Yeah, I do. Well, don't hit me, I'm old, please.
That's a great sort of bit of overlap between these two shows. We didn't see it in this particular clip, but I got a chance to see some other footage where before this woman even started stating her case, she was just so happy to see you. She said, "Hi, Jerry. Before I tell you what's wrong, hello, Jerry, how are you?" And you said, "Judge Jerry." And she's like, "Right, Judge Jerry. That's what I meant to say." But she was so excited. People do love you, and they come onto this show partially to see you.
Well, you're kind, but there are people that hate the old show and therefore don't like me, etc. But yeah, it's familiar. If you're in the movies, you don't approach people in the movies. You're excited. Oh my God, that's Tom Cruise. That's Tom. It's like you shake, you get nervous. Wow. But if you think about it, I'm in their living room every day for 27 years. So you're familiar. And when you're an actor, you're playing other people. But every day I'm in their home as me. And so therefore there is a familiarity. It's not Mr. Springer, it's Jerry. And people start chanting, which my wife says that's great, but at my age now they should start chanting my address so I know how to get home.
I've got jokes.
The worst place, this chanting Jerry just had got me to thinking. Yeah. The worst place it ever happens, because it happens. I think I was in Cincinnati at a Bengals football game. And, during halftime, you go to the men's room. And the men's room in the stadiums, they have urinals that 75, 100 guys go at once. I mean, they're just, and you line up there. There are 500 guys in there. Well, so I get spotted, and 500 guys are chanting Jerry, Jerry, as it's my turn up at the urinal.
It's a lot of pressure.
Well, at my age, I got enough pressure. I don't need them. I'll say, I'll be right with you guys, all right? So that was the worst time that they ever started chanting my name.
That's incredible. Do the audience, do they chant for you on here as well when you come out on Judge Jerry?
Well, I go out first before we start taping, and I greet the audience, and just chat with them a little bit. So when I first come out, they do that.
out of the way.
But then I say, this is a courtroom, and maybe people don't know it. I didn't know it, but all these court shows, these are real cases. The people don't know that they're going to be on television when they first file the cases. They file them anywhere in America. And we have people every morning who get up, go to the computer, and look at every case that has been filed in this country the day before. And if it's an interesting case, then we call the plaintiff and the defendant and say, would you like to have your case adjudicated on national television with me as the host? And if they say yes, we fly them there. So this isn't like, oh, I'll file a suit against you and we'll get on television. No, there's no way in the world they can know that it's going to happen. And so therefore, these are legitimate lawsuits. Whatever decision I make, that's final. They can't then go to a court of common pleas and have it appealed. So I have to treat that seriously. So this Jerry, and even though I'll joke around a little bit in the show, as you saw in that clip, just making a quip here and there, it's serious business because it's important to the people.
What was the process like for you to become a judge, for you to have that legal authority to?
Well, you don't. I'm a lawyer.
You're a lawyer, right?
Yeah. So you would have to have that, and then there was a day that you spend where they make it. Yeah, but that's it, because in most of the country, you don't even have to be a lawyer necessarily to be a judge. It's an elective office, and most are. In fact, you don't even have to be a lawyer to be on the Supreme Court, which a lot of people don't know. We've had in the past U.S. senators that have become it, or military people. So the history of the country is not, you don't have to be a lawyer to be on the Supreme Court.
Now that you are a judge officially, what other than the show, any other perks? What comes with?
Well, I don't get as much of a clothing allowance.
Okay.
Because I wear a robe every day.
Got the robe every day, yeah.
So that really ticked me off.
One robe? They give you multiple robes at least.
Well, they honestly gave two, because I always have I always have a Starbucks in the morning. Yeah. And I'm not very, I'm sloppy.
You gotta have a backup robe.
You can't go up there. The other day I went out there and it looked like the Philippines, a map of the Philippines on my robe.
Let me ask
so no, they have to have two robes.
Did it take time for you to adjust to the different speed, the different sensibilities after doing the Jerry Springer Show for so many years and getting into those motions to now come in? It's a little bit more structured. There is fun to be had. You're getting to crack jokes, but it's a different show. Did that adjustment take time for you to get used to that speed?
Actually, it didn't. I thought it might, but you kind of fall right into it. And if you think about, as crazy as my show was, I never was crazy. Yeah. In other words, I never was in a fight. I don't curse. I'm always wearing a suit. And then at the end, I gave my final thought. I think it's the persona that you see in me giving the final thought is how I approach being a judge. Yeah. And in my mind, I deal with these cases as I would with my own child at the time, or my own grandson. In other words, when I have to be stern as a parent or grandparent, I'm not mean. Yeah. And I always explain in this case why I reach the decision that I do. So I don't ever want to be mean. And I think that's the persona that comes across on the show, because that's how I deal with it. Judge Judy, who is clearly the best at this, but she's very stern. And boom, down comes the gavel, and that's the decision. With me, it's more, I'm your dad or your grandfather or your uncle talking to you in that tone. And so I think what distinguishes one court show from another, it's the personality of the judge. Because the cases are all the same, the same subject matter usually. Yeah.
Did you hear, how small is the daytime TV judge community? Has Judge Judith Shineland given you a call? Have you heard from her? Have you reached out to her?
No, well, I know her.
You know her,
and
yeah.
we've met on a whole bunch of occasions, and she is just the nicest lady going. But otherwise, no. But it's the same with. I don't know any celebrities. Because I live in Sarasota and we have a place in Chicago. So once in a while, maybe at a function, you run into them. But I'm not. I'm sorry. I'm not part of the. I just never felt comfortable, and it's true. I really don't know. I mean, I know who they are, and if I see them, obviously we're polite to each other. But it's not like there's that club that I'm a part of. And for the sake of their careers, they don't want to admit that they know me. Yeah. Jerry's saying, no.
And the way that over the years you always got, I'm sure we're asked a trillion times, of which guest was the most shocking or anything of that nature when you were doing the Jerry Springer show. With this show, with all the cases you've done so far, does one stand out? Have you been challenged in an exciting way when you were presented with a case that you didn't quite know where you were going to land until you heard everything?
Well, it happens more often than I thought. I told you a week before we do the cases, the cases get sent to me, the complaint, the answer, and then I research it. And in my own mind, I take notes and I jot down so I have an idea where I'm going with this and what questions I might want to ask the plaintiff and the defendant. And so that's what I'm thinking. But then when I actually hear their oral arguments in front of me, sometimes my mind is changed because there's a twist to it. Like there was this one case, without getting too much into the detail, where this dog comes onto this couple's property, and it seems to them that the dog is ferocious, barking, growling at them, and they're scared. So they run in their house, shut the door, lock the door. I don't know why they locked the door. Did they think the dog was going to unlock it? But anyway. And then, which is a human reaction, some people are frightened of dogs, particularly a dog you don't know, and so you go inside. But then he opened the window, took out his shotgun, and he shot the dog. Well, the couple that owned the dog, the woman was there she was the plaintiff, and she was crying, and she loved the dog. The dog wasn't dead, but the dog was crippled, the back legs. And it was in Minnesota, and there was snow all over, and that's how they found out who shot the dog, because the blood trail went to the guy's house. And so she sued him for the $5,000 for the vet bills. And so it seems like a slam dunk case. You don't shoot a dog. It's not life or death kind of thing. You just don't shoot a dog. So... But in researching, I found out that town has a leash law, a leash ordinance. And the reason you have a leash ordinance is so things like this don't happen. Not that people normally would shoot a dog, but that dogs don't bite people. That, you have to have some control over your dog. Well, you have to then balance the equity here. It's clearly wrong to shoot a dog. But yet there was contributory negligence by letting the dog go without a leash. So I kind of had to balance that. And you'll watch the show and see how I came out. Ooh. Yeah. But what's interesting is, here's the toughest part of the job is, at least in my mind, is 99% of us will agree with what the just moral answer is. Right. We're not confused about that. You can ask a 7th grader, what's the right, fair thing? And if the kid isn't trying to be smart, and the kid's just being honest, the kid will say, well, this is the right answer. So that's what I start out with. Yeah. And then you have to fit that moral answer or the just answer into the law, because sometimes laws are not particularly just. Laws get passed by who has the power over the legislators to get them to write a particular law. I'm not saying all laws are unjust, but not every law is necessarily the fair, moral thing. It's just, that's what the law is. And so I have to find a way. So I first try to get what is morally right and then squeeze it into a local state law or ordinance that, that will give me an answer that people can accept. So that's what I find challenging and enjoyable. So it doesn't matter if it's only $5,000, quote, only $5,000. It could be $100 million. But the questions are still the same. What is fair? What is just? And what is the legal technicality?
It sounds like a remarkable amount of research and preparation. On top of all this, 30, 35 cases a week, every other week. Are you still keeping up with your podcast, the Jerry Springer podcast?
Yeah, I do that every week.
Every week?
I fly up to Cincinnati. Actually, we do it across the river in Ludlow, Kentucky, in a coffee shop there. I do it every 2 weeks, but there's a new one every week.
Yeah,
in other words,
right.
if you go to the podcast, you'll see it's a new one every week. And yeah, I do that because my real passion in life is, other than for my family, is political. Yeah. And that's, I make my living in show business, but politics is more what I care about.
Going there.
And that's my vehicle for spouting off my liberal politics. And so that's what I do, yeah.
Did you ever think, you know, coming from the background that you come from, your show back in the day, the Jerry Springer Show, it was the only place we could go see this fantastical, crazy circus, this kind of heightened, intense discourse. It was entertainment. Did you ever think that almost that style of discourse would spill out of entertainment into our politics and into our news, and people would yell and scream the way they do now? It used to just be we could only get that sort of thing on television from your show, and now it's kind of every channel. It's just how people talk now. Does that ever surprise you? Did you see that coming? What do you think?
Well, the thing that annoys me, let's say, about Trump is that he took my show and brought it to the White House. And that, I'm annoyed. I should get paid for that.
Very least, you should be getting a
yeah,
check.
you know, hey, get your own show. So,
Well said.
what, I guess this is my thought on that whole, the direction of the culture, et cetera. The culture has not changed. The behavior is the same. 1,000 years ago, people gathered in the marketplace, in the town square, and they would all chat about what their neighbors are doing, who did what the gossip is, what the scandal is. Everything that has ever been on my show is already in the Bible, is already in Shakespeare, is already in great literature, everything. What has changed in the last 50 years, 60, 70 years, is technology. So we always used to talk about what was going on in our neighborhood. We still do, but with technology, the neighborhood has become the planet Earth. So we now know, we talk more about what the Kardashians are doing than the people who lived at the end of the block, who we don't necessarily know if they're not on our iPhone. So all that has happened is that the behavior is now known by everybody, and everything happens more quickly. And we become accustomed to it. So the behavior hasn't changed. It's just that we're announcing it to the world. So when people say, well, they don't say it anymore, but when I started the show, how could you say those things on television? There is nothing on our show that the kids aren't already doing on their iPhones. You know, in social media. They're showing who they're with, what they're doing, what's embarrassing, what will keep them from being one day on the Supreme Court. You know, and maybe not, apparently, yeah. So it's like, and that what is happening. We also have the democratization of our culture, which is not only in politics, but is in entertainment. For thousands of years, entertainment was always somebody performing on stage, in an arena, more lately on a screen, and we sit in the audience and observe. What started to happen, probably with talk radio, is we, the audience, became the entertainment. You would listen to these call-in shows, and you were entertained by the people who were called in. And then Phil Donahue came along, and all of a sudden it was the people sitting in the audience that Phil would go to for their comments and questions. That became the audience. Then we started to get interactive. So we, the audience, would vote for who we wanted to be still on the island, still in the House, still on America's Got Talent, American Idol. We, the audience, became the entertainers, and we voted for which one of us we liked. It's become democracy. So the singers today aren't necessarily better than the ones that were before, but they're chosen by the people now, rather than a few executives sitting in New York or in Hollywood. That is what is happening in our culture, in our society, and it's democracy. Doesn't mean that the result is always better, but it does mean that we now decide what we want in life, and we get what we voted for or didn't vote for because we didn't show up. And that's true of the White House, and it's true of our entertainment shows. It's why what we call reality television has become so prominent.
We got to go to the audience in just a second. I'm getting the signal for some questions, but before we do, as someone who is so passionate about politics, I imagine you're following the 2020 race very closely. Is anyone standing out to you right now? I'd be very interested to know if someone stood out to you amongst the crowd, if there's somebody you like, or if it's still too early for you to call. What do you think right now?
I like Kamala Harris, but the truth is, I would vote for a ham sandwich.
You can take anybody.
Yeah, yeah, and I don't eat pork. So no, I'm very liberal. So obviously, Trump is not someone that I would politically support. And I'm satisfied with them all. From a pure political point of view, I think we have to be a little careful. I think as long as Trump is the issue, the Democrats can win. But if we pick a candidate who all of a sudden takes the spotlight off of Trump, and is this person too far left, or is this, if suddenly the debate moves in that direction, then I think we could lose the election again. So, but life has passed me by. Younger people should make the decision because they're the ones that are going to live with the next administration and the decisions that administration makes. So I do think age is a factor. I remember when I got started in politics, I first ran for Congress literally 50 years ago. Wow. In November of '69, I was 25, and I announced for the U.S. Congress I was going to run as an anti-war candidate. And I was thinking, I said, wait a second, we're the ones that are going to Vietnam. We're the ones that are being drafted. Why aren't we making the decisions about our lives? And so I was, back then it used to be if you're over 30, you can't be trusted. Right. Well, geez, if I'm over 75, I should be dead. So I do kind of think that even though I have my view of the more practical aspect of let's have a candidate that I can be sure is going to beat Trump, I also understand if people are choosing a candidate that is further left than I am, then maybe I've got to listen to them because it's they're inheriting this world.
Didn't I read something that you, early 2000s, you were considering re-entering politics, but then you ended up not doing it?
Yeah, there were a bunch of occasions where I lived for 35 years. We lived in Cincinnati in Ohio. So my politics is basically based there. So there was, they kept taking these polls, and in polls I would show up winning, but probably just because I was well known, and for Senate and governor. And so I did think about that, but I just never could pull the trigger and do it. All kinds of reasons that I thought, maybe not. You got to be willing to sacrifice everything if you're going to serve, and I had family considerations which made that impossible.
Let's go ahead. We got some questions in the room. I got at least 2. You should have microphones. I'm going to go to the first one. Hey, right here. Come on down, man.
Hi.
Hi.
I was just wondering if you would ever do anything with scripted television. I know that's not really your thing, but I was just curious.
Yeah, I once in a while I've been on shows, scripted, particularly comedies, and I've done a few movies that are immensely forgettable. Yeah, I would. I mean, that would, just because that's fun. Yeah. I mean, you know, I'm obviously not an actor, but I would enjoy doing that just because it'd be fun to be somebody else. The toughest thing I ever did in show business was being in the musical Chicago in the West End in England and on Broadway here, and because I had to play somebody else, and that was, you know, because you have to sing, you have to dance, and it's not pretty when I dance. It's not even pleasant when I sing. When I sing, everyone gets involved because you have to guess where the notes were supposed to have been. So there's a lot of audience participation. That was a B flat. Oh, no, what is it? They start fighting in the audience. What note that was? Yes, the answer to your question is yes, I would consider it. Sure, that'd be fun.
You have a script? Is that what? Oh, no. He doesn't.
Oh,
okay,
yeah,
I thought.
Yeah.
I thought this was going
I
somewhere.
could
I'm
see
sorry.
playing the young romantic interest. Yeah.
You got my ticket.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. I want to do one more, Frank. I got time? All right, we got one more. Microphone right here. Come on down.
Hello.
Hi.
I have a question from our website, buildseries.com. Somebody
Yes.
would like to know which court show is your favorite besides your own.
Well, I'll say, I'll qualify it first, is that I don't really watch daytime television. I don't watch my show. That's because I have taste. No, yeah, no, I just don't watch. But I've seen Judge Judy, and I guess she's the best, and I really like that. But now I'm purposely not watching because I don't want to try to copy anyone else. I think the only thing that works on television, in fact, erase that. The only thing that works in life is being authentic. Be who you are. If you try and fake it, you'll get away with it for a week, for 2 weeks, and then it just shows. It shows that it's fake. Look at the difference when someone reads a speech and someone just gives a talk. You know, I mean, as soon as they're reading a speech, right away your mind is saying, they're just reading that. Yeah. That's not what they really feel. That's not the, you know. If you've got something to say, throw away the speech and just talk to people. What's on your mind? What do you think about it? And so I don't want to watch other shows and do, you know, and I know there are other successful court shows, but I just, plus, you have in your mind who I am. Just, you know, whatever I am on television, that's what you perceive me. If I suddenly would change my voice because I'm now a judge, you would say, what is that a-hole doing? You know, so therefore, no, you just got to be yourself. But I'm not watching the other shows. I don't watch my own. So I like sports and politics on television. Those are, you know, I watch cable news and I watch sports, and that's it, really. Oh, no, Suits is a great show. Yeah. I loved Suits, I loved Doc Martin, and I loved The Crown. Yeah.
There's supposed to be a new season. I don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, it's I think going to be their final season.
I think the final one
It's a British show with British humor. I was born in England. I love it.
Fantastic
Yeah.
show. I love that
Yeah.
show.
Thanks.
Thank you so much for that question. Before we wrap it up, I have to know, to that end, how do you know, if you don't watch your own stuff, how do you know that you are being authentic? How do you know that you are being the Jerry you want to be?
Well, I've been myself for 75 years.
There you go. All right.
So yeah. So I mean, I've never been anything else. I mean, if you see video of me as mayor, my voice is higher, you know. But other than, no, I've always been this, you know, kind of silly.
I think to that end, that goes back to what I said earlier, that people, they love you, regardless of what the show was about or whatever. And I think that's why. I think because we can spot that. We see that. We know that when we see Judge Jerry or Jerry Springer, we know we're getting Jerry. And we like Jerry. We love Jerry. And I think if you love Jerry before, you're going to keep loving him. This show's fantastic. You're fantastic.
Thank you. You're great, man.
Thank you so much. I want to thank everybody for being a great audience. I want to thank the Honorable Judge Jerry. Go to judgejerry.com/watch. Find out when it's on in your area. Keep it going. Jerry Springer, come on.